arrogance of the man get you easily out of control. I'm not the other way around.
Game over, man. Game over.
Please, we can kill it.
Wolfman's got heart.
Nobody trusts anybody now.
Come on, you think? You want to live forever?
Now what? But no matter what happens, Godzilla will win.
And welcome back to the not 68th, technically 67th episode of the podcast. I'll explain why in a moment. You've got Sludge here, co-host across from me.
And Mark.
Our brother from Texas.
Ruben.
And I totally screwed the pooch. You know, we pre-recorded an episode that's coming out next week, a big special episode we got with some friends of ours. And when recording, I called that episode the 67th episode, and that was a lie. This is the 67th episode. That was the 68th episode because it comes out after this episode. And I hope everyone's following that because it makes total sense.
That's not confusing, is it?
At all. Confusing. But man, we're stoked for this one because we've got some of Ruben's favorite movies in this episode. We're doing 3-in-1 just for Ruben, and we're going to hit the Godzilla anime series on this episode. Try and run through them pretty quick because I know a lot of people don't like them. But there's people that do, and I know that Ruben just fangirls over these movies. He was so excited for this one. So, but we'll jump on this one. Then we got the special episode next month for you, and we're trying to figure out what to do for we just finished up the monster movies, the Universal monster movies, of what direction we want to go next. And usually we talk a little bit off air. About what movies we've done, and I decided not to do that before this, because we've been talking for probably 40 minutes before this show. We usually do, but to kind of give you guys a feel of how we decide or what we do, we're going to discuss real quick. What do we do next? What's the next? We've never done this on an episode.
Well, you're putting us on the spot.
I'm putting you guys everybody on the spot.
Wow, wow.
Usually, I'll throw out some ideas and we'll run with it, and it's October's coming up, so we've got Halloween around the corner. And last year we did the Ernest Scared Stupid, and we did a Halloween special. And, what would be a cool thing to do for everybody coming up?
Wow.
For next month.
Wow. And we got quiet time on the air right now.
Time.
Yeah.
See,
we already decided what we're doing for the Halloween special, did we not?
Did we?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
He don't know whether he's in the 68th episode
Dude,
or the 67th.
So. We discussed it. Matter of fact, it was Mark's idea. Mark says, well, why don't we just do that episode?
What episode?
Yeah, Ruben, tell us what episode.
Mark don't remember either. Look at him. Look at his face.
You don't remember?
What did we talk about?
Mark has no idea. We have slipped. Ruben doesn't even know. Look at him. So we can see him on Zoom meeting.
Yes.
Yeah. He doesn't know. He's
what did we talk about? We did talk about it, though. You're right.
We did talk about it.
Did.
We talked about it, and we said, okay, we're talking about this movie, and then Mark said, hey, why don't we just do that for Halloween?
Dang it.
Man, it's slipping my mind right now, man. So
And,
let's just start from scratch.
Let's do it all over
Start
again.
from scratch. See now,
And I'm still blank.
You guys listening, this is what we go through. This is how we decide what we review for you all.
We talked about a movie off air last time, and then
Wow.
and it was right after this special episode that we did, wasn't it? No, it was the one before.
One before that, yeah.
Yeah.
And we have no clue what
we're
we're
talking
about.
off air, and then I remember everything except the name of the movie. I remember it all. I'm like, and you said that would be a good. I'm like, yeah, that's a Halloween movie. I just don't remember which one it is.
And we totally spaced it.
And we did. We did. So guess what? We don't have a Halloween movie now. So we got to
we
do it again.
Ruined it for now. If we, so for Halloween themes, there's Trick or Treat by Mike Doherty.
Yeah.
We got that one, or like an anthology of monster movies would be good for Halloween themed season. I think that's a good one. Trick or Treat's a good one. What are some other Halloween themed besides Halloween? We could go. We don't really necessarily do the slasher films. You know what I mean? We tend to stick to the monsters movie since monsters in the title for a good reason. But Trick or Treat's one. I mean, you got vampires and zombies and
I was thinking, did we have one of John Carpenter's? Did we talk about movies? I can't remember. In the Mouth of Madness was. I don't think we discussed.
Yeah, we talked about that
yeah,
one before.
Yeah. Man, I don't know.
We did The Thing. Haven't done The Fog.
The Fog.
No.
Did we talk about Trilogy of Terror? I saw that.
Trilogy. We did talk about Trilogy of Terror.
Yeah.
Because we talked about a Creep Show. Because we talked about maybe one of those triple or story features type deal. What do you guys think? What would you want to do? I think one of those anthologies would be good. I think Trick or Treat would be a good anthology because it is Halloween. It's on Halloween.
Yeah.
And
that'll work for me.
Vampires, zombies, and a little Sam Hain, the little pumpkin monster dude. That what we're going for?
Mark's looking in his little black book.
I've
got my phone here. Yeah. The old man's looking up the
man, I wish I could remember because whatever it was, I'm like, remember, hey, that's a good idea. We'll just do that. Why don't we do RoboCop?
I think it's a great idea, Ruben. Yeah. Mark loves the movie.
No.
That's his favorite.
No. I mean, Trick or Treat's fine with me.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, that's a great one. It's fun.
Yeah, I was up at Pumpkinhead would have been another good one too.
Pumpkinhead would have been real good.
Pumpkinhead. I like Pumpkinhead.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've done like a holiday special feature, like double feature. And I know a lot of the fans like the 50s classic drive-in, where we did 3. They love that stuff. So
I mean, I'm trying to keep it in the monster realm because I'm a
big fan of the Hammer films and all that, but that's not really monsters. That's
Mark,
vampire.
You haven't picked in a while. You want to do Pumpkinhead?
Let's do Pumpkinhead. I'm game on that one.
All right, we'll do Pumpkinhead. That's one of my favorites. I used to watch it a lot as a kid. Pumpkinhead.
So
there you go, guys. Boom.
That was a favorite rental of mine.
Oh man, I love Pumpkinhead. I actually was a big fan of the sequel too, Blood Wings. We won't talk about the third or fourth one.
Didn't you have a figurine?
I did. I had one of the McFarlane Movie Maniacs.
Pumpkinhead.
I actually had the Pumpkinhead. I had the Thing, and I had the Fly. Maniacs ones. Phenomenal figures. That Pumpkinhead one was the bomb, though. The detail on it was amazing.
Yeah, McFarlane's figures were.
Oh, dude, this
very
is
good.
so
very
good. I'm stoked for his new Batman figure that he's coming. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, I saw it online just the other day.
Oh man, it's awesome. Like the cape is done very Spawn-esque, like the actual cover he did, Batman 180, whatever it is, where that I've got upstairs in the Nerd Vault. So he's doing a Batman, and it's the same color, the blues, and it's got the sharp points of the cape, very Spawn-esque type stuff. Yeah. And of course, that was all done pre-Spawn. The comic itself was. It looks awesome. It's gonna be, McFarlane nails it when it comes to the figures. So, so next month, of course, now this month we've got, we're fixing to do the anime trilogy for you. We've got a special team up episode next week with our good buddies from Give Me Back My Action Movies. Of course, we've got Charlie and Dan, and of course, we're going to spin a commercial for them here in just a moment for you guys. And then October, I think we're fixing to do. What we got in October? Godzilla films. We just did the trilogy, so we got King of the Monsters.
Yes.
King of the Monsters.
King of the Monsters is next, and then we're going to do Pumpkinhead. I'm stoked about Pumpkinhead, man. That's one of my favorites. Stan Winston directed, Lance Henriksen. That's a good choice. So, all right. Well, real quick, we love our friends and everybody that we talk to. Cameron over at with his show, Pete. I'm thinking I got Pete in my brain because I just shipped Pete out he finally got the poster from Jada with Good Beer Bad Movie Night. And then, Charlie and Dan, the Give Me Back My Action Movies. They've got that new show fixing to come out, too, as far as the horror movie films coming out. That's going to be really cool. But give them love, give them support. Go add to all their groups, check their shows out, and we'll be right back with the Godzilla Anime Trilogy.
This is Charlie with Give Me Back My Action Movies.
And Dan.
Join us every 2 weeks as we dive into the classic action movies of the 80s and 90s.
That's right, Charlie. But we also take a look at some of the current films out there that still has those nostalgic feels for us.
Exactly. So make sure you find us on all your major podcasting platforms.
And check us out over on Facebook. We have a group where the conversation's always going 24/7.
We're having a good time.
I think so.
I'll be back.
返してもらうぞ。俺は貴様を。総員戦闘態勢。了解しました。行くぞ。ギリギリまで引きつけるぞ。星が焼き付くまで撃て。
ゴジラは無敵ではない。戦いを諦めた人類にこそ非があった。
終わらせてやる。
ゴジラ怪獣惑星。
All right, so definitely, again, go check out our brothers over at Give Me Back My Action Movies, and we are rolling into the Godzilla anime trilogy for you all. And what are you pointing at, Mark?
What? Because you're supposed to be running a good movie. Pete's.
No, Give Me Back My Action Movies.
you said
We write
earlier.
notes, and I've got a little notepad.
Okay.
And Mark's giving me this eye because we ran a
Good
commercial
beer.
for
Well,
Charlie and them.
What's Pete? What's the name of your podcast?
Good Beer, Bad Movie Night.
Good beer.
Do I need to write
bad
that out in
movie
letters?
night. Yeah.
So
yeah.
good beer, bad movie night.
But I could have swore
GBBMN.
you just said Pete.
Well, I was talking about Pete because I was supporting all of our
No,
other
no,
friends.
before that. Dude,
I was.
When you were giving us night, you're going to do it.
You need to go back and listen to the commercial
Okay.
spot again.
Let's talk about the movie. Let's just talk about the movie.
Jeez.
Okay.
Mark is on it. So, all right. We're talking about the Godzilla anime
I
trilogy.
am out of coffee.
And,
That's the problem.
you are in big trouble. You're going to go through this whole show without coffee. So this is a trilogy of anime films, starting with Godzilla Planet of Monsters. Its direct sequel was Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle, and then they finished up the trilogy with Godzilla Planet Eater. Now, the first one came out at the end of 2017, and then the next two came out in 2018. All debuted on Netflix. Now, they did have a small theatrical run in Japan, each one of them, which was kind of weird, because if you look at the numbers, it looks like they did terrible, but they didn't really do terrible. It's just everyone was watching it at home instead of going to the theaters for it.
Yeah.
The first one ended up grossing $3 million in the box office. The second one did $1 million, and then the third one did $1.5 million.
Yeah.
As far as the box office, but again, it's streaming Netflix. It's still on Netflix. Well, you were looking earlier.
Yeah, it's 1 and 2's on there. 3 is
Three's
not.
on
I
there,
was
which
thinking
is
3
weird.
was-
You figure all three would be on.
Yeah.
I watched all 3 on Netflix. I watched all 3.
Well, when I searched for him, it was only giving me the
It's
first
old
one and the
age,
second.
man. He's
Boy, okay.
I watched
now
all
listen.
3.
he's
I'll
going-
get my phone out right now.
Show us it's the case. But so these all 3 movies, they were directed by Koben Shizuno, and they were the storyline was written by Jin Orabuchi, because it is a trilogy, so the storyline goes across all 3 films. And quick synopsis of because we're going to talk about all 3 movies instead of going down and doing one at a time. We're going to kind of run through all 3 of them together, just for Ruben's sake, because I know.
Yes,
look,
thank you.
let me be honest with you guys. I've been lying to you for a while. Ruben does not love these movies. Ruben is not a big fan of them. So that's why we decided to kind of put them all together. Just, do one big package.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate that sacrifice.
Hey, anything that I can do for you, even though, you still pick Whataburger over In-N-Out.
Hey,
but,
thank goodness for caffeine. But instead with Pete, you drink beer. I needed caffeine to keep me up for these movies, otherwise I'd be snoring. That's the way it was going to be.
He'll be rating his on a 12-pack of soda for this, is what he's going to be doing.
Yeah. I don't rank them on how many beers it took to get, how many sodas that I need to keep up for these movies is what I needed.
Well, interesting concept for the movie. So, the movie starts off and mankind has left Earth because Godzilla's just decimated everything. And not just Godzilla. The monsters start to appear. In the beginning of the first film, you see, the flashbacks, and you get to see Kamacuras, the smog monster, Orga. So you get to see a few of them that are kind of thrown there as like little Easter eggs. But then they talk about Godzilla finally appears. And when he does, he's just destroying mankind. That's it. He's just wiping mankind off the face of the planet. And so in a last-ditch effort, what's left of humanity takes off to space to go to a planet to try and colonize there, because we can't live on Earth anymore. Godzilla literally will not let us. So they've got to take off and find another home. Unfortunately, the planet they get to, Tai, it's unfortunately uninhabitable. They cannot live there. So now they've wasted almost all their resources getting to this planet and realize that they can't, they can't live here. They need to find another place to live, and that's where the main character at the very beginning, who's the main character throughout the whole trilogy, Haruo Sakaki. He's a captain on this ship. He was a child when they left, but now he's in his mid-20s. He's actually holding a ship hostage because they're trying to actually see about colonizing this planet and taking a group of older people, including his grandfather, down to colonize the planet. And so he threatens to blow the ship up if they don't turn around and head back to Earth, because he believes the only option for humanity, we're running out of supplies, is to go back, kill Godzilla, and take Earth back. And eventually that's ultimately what they do, because they do talk him down. They send the ship down to the new planet. It blows up in atmosphere, killing his grandfather. But they do ultimately decide they have no other choice. They're going to try going back with what they got. Now, they've been out in space for 20 years, but it's been 20,000 years on Earth. And when they get back, it is a much, much different planet. Cities are gone. There's no, the plant life and Earth has just overgrown everything, and it just looks like a foreign planet at this point. And they run into some issues when they first get there. One of them is the breathability of the air, because mankind's been gone. The atmosphere has changed slightly. Some areas there's this fog that prevents them from being able to breathe, so they have to wear their helmets. They run into some nasties on this planet, not just Godzilla, because he definitely shows up, but you've got a new species of creatures called Servum, which are like these dragons that are actually a subspecies, you come to find out, of Godzilla, and they are more, and this was a big complaint of some people, but they were more a plant-based life form, even though they're an animal. So was Godzilla, but their skin is tough as metal. And so this is an adversary they have to face off with, and they're trying to figure out how to kill Godzilla, and that's what the first movie really revolves around. There's hints in the movie of mankind surviving, but we don't find out until the very end that yes, there is a race of people who have survived on this planet for 20,000 years called the Hatuo, who play a key role in the rest of the films. Of course, this all climaxes into Godzilla shows up, climaxes into a massive battle with Godzilla at the end, and what they find out is that Godzilla pretty much is impenetrable because of a shield, that he's a electromagnetic shield that covers him constantly. But the shield goes down for a few seconds when he goes to blow, or right after he blows his atomic breath, and that's their window to be able to penetrate him with these missiles in the first movie, that they penetrate his body with. Their
EMTs.
Yeah, EMPs that drill into him, and the goal is to disrupt and be able to kill him. And they successfully do so, actually. They drill into him and blow up. When he goes to shoot his atomic breath again and blows up his entire upper half, they just completely blow Godzilla away with this plan. And it works, or so they think, because the ground starts to shake, earthquake. They're trying to figure out what's going on, and then the real Godzilla shows up, and they realize the Godzilla they just fought was a subspecies, much smaller, because now the biggest incarnation of Godzilla ever, at over 300 meters, comes roaring out of the ground and just starts wiping them away like it's nothing. And the end of the movie, of the first one, you see Haruo, who tried to distract the real Godzilla so that everyone could escape, is in a damaged machine, and it ends right there. The second one picks up pretty much right after Haruo's actually been rescued by one of the girls from the Hatua, who you find out her name's Mina. She has a twin sister called Miana, and you find out that the Hatua have a god who actually is Mothra. And they talk about that Mothra was killed by Godzilla battling him, but the egg still remains, and they worship this egg, and they talk mostly through telepathy. They actually have a white substance on their bodies that the scientists for mankind find out that is insect oriented. So this has to do with Mothra, and because of this is actually out there able to heal Haruo and get him to feeling better. And he comes back and he has to find everybody else. Well, as he starts to look for everybody else, they're trying to come up with a plan of what to do to stop Godzilla, and the plan is to find Mechagodzilla. Now, in the background of the first film, we have two other species of humanoids that's come from space, the Belliculados, and who are very reminiscent of the primate aliens from Mechagodzilla movies. From the Third Planet, Beyond the Black Hole. They're very tech oriented, all about machinery type of people. They come to Earth before we leave to try and help us and kill Godzilla, they build a Mega Godzilla. But before they can turn Mega Godzilla on, Godzilla destroys it. And we find out in this movie that had happened. So they decide they need to go find Mega Godzilla, get Mega Godzilla back, because what they realize is the Hatuos on their spears is a metal, a nano metal, and they're getting it from that original city. And so they go and they find the original base, which is now turned into a massive weaponized city instead of a Mega Godzilla, because the nanotechnology they have has continued to replicate over and over for 20,000 years. And now is just this massive metropolitan area that is just nothing but machinery, weaponry, and nanotechnology. So they go to do this and decide the plan is the same thing they did the first one. Lure Godzilla in, hit him with these EMP harpoons, and take him out. And the luring plan works a little too well this time around, because as soon as Godzilla's not been able to find this city, because the nanotechnology has formed a fog bank around it that's kind of deflected his ability to sense the city. And so while they're building reparations for it and fortifications and new weaponry, they create new flying mech machines, 3 of them. They're called Vultures, which are freaking bad, to do this plan. Because they have to move the nanotech resources, it brings the cloud bank down, and Godzilla makes a straight beeline right to the city. He shows up, and it's a massive, epic battle that they think they might win. Unfortunately, they do not. And, I mean, they onslaught Godzilla like it's nothing, and they find out that he has more than just the atomic ray, as he starts to heat his body up to over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit and eradicates most of this city in one massive blow. And so they're down out again. What do we do? And then in enters the third film, the Planet Eater, which this time there's a third species we talked about a moment ago of humanoids called the Xyz, where one of the other big main character, whose name's Medphys, who has pretty much been Haruo's kind of father character since the beginning. You know, I mean, he's been with Haruo since he was a kid, and Haruo looks to him as a father, as a friend, a brother type deal. And you come to find out that Medphys and his species, his humanoid species, the Xyz, their planet, of course, was killed by a monster. And you find out in the third film that that's happened on almost every civilized planet in the universe. And they have been going from planet to planet trying to warn people, so they say, about this happening, and trying to give people safety and salvation in some way from the destruction of their planets from these monsters. So as they're trying to find a new way to destroy Godzilla, Medphys is starting to talk to all the people, that the remaining survivors, of the way of their god. This movie takes a very major spiritual turn, and you come to find out that it's all one big massive betrayal from Medphys from the beginning, and his god is none other than King Ghidorah himself, who they call the King of the Void. And his plan this whole time, his whole mission for centuries, has been to bring King Ghidorah to Earth, to destroy Earth and all life, because that's what Ghidorah does. He destroys everything. And as this all comes to fruition in a pretty bloody sequence, which was pretty intense, he's gotten a lot of people kind of on his side and believing that, you know, in order to have this salvation, you know, you got to, you know, it's coming from, you know, their god, which they don't know yet is Ghidorah, and they has him take this drink. And when he takes this drink, he uses this technology called a Germatron, I think is what it was.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. That uses it, and all of a sudden you start hearing, it lights up, and you start hearing Ghidorah in the background, and you see his shadow coming out from him, and as his shadow crosses his people, you see a guy's head bitten right off, a leg bitten off. You see Ghidorah eating these people almost like from an otherworldly dimension. Pretty brutal scene, because these people don't realize they're nothing but sacrifices in order to bring Ghidorah from that dimension to Earth's dimension. Yep. And then that's when it culminates, and that's what happens. Ghidorah shows up through these dimensional portals and starts immediately attacking Godzilla. But Godzilla can do nothing. He can't touch him. He tries to hit him. It doesn't work. He tries to shoot his atomic blast at him. It doesn't work. It's like it goes through him like it's almost like he's a hologram. But Ghidorah's able to actually bite him and attack him and starts sucking the life force right out of Godzilla. While all this is going on, the planet's, you know, looks like it's in a big, massive hurricane anyways. That's when Haruo and the Hatuo realize, you know, this is because somebody's calling Ghidorah here. And they realize that it's Medphys the whole time. And so it culminates to a big climax battle between Haruo and Medphys as well as Godzilla and Ghidorah. And Haruo is able to overcome Metphes and destroy the tool, which he has now placed bloodily inside his own eye, Metphes has, that he's using to call Ghidorah so that Ghidorah can see what's going on. And when Haruo breaks it, it ultimately ends up killing Metphes. But then it gives Godzilla the upper hand because now Ghidorah is tangible and turns the tide, and Godzilla just takes Ghidorah out and the portal's out like it's absolutely nothing. And the movie ends with the remaining humans starting to live and incorporate themselves with Hatuo naturally. And one of the things that Metphes talked about with Haruo was Godzilla is on every planet. He's created because of mankind's selfishness and greed to prosper itself to be the greatest of everything on the planet. And so every civilization meets an end to a Godzilla. And this Haruo realizes this, and it comes into fruition when one of the other guys, the doctors that's left, takes the vulture from the second film and is able to turn it back on. And he tells him, man, with the nanotechnology from this, we're going to be able to rebuild and all the old civilizations. And that's when Haruo realizes if we do that, then we're right back to square one. It's going to be all over again. So he takes the vulture, and with one of the female survivors who's now encased in nanotechnology, loads up in the vulture itself, flies straight to Godzilla and says, "We're the last. I am the last that's got the hate for you. I'm the last that carries on the civilization." The Hatuo obviously don't. They know how to live the right way. And the movie ends with Godzilla blasting Haruo away. And that's it. Although, I mean, just one massive story that spanned across 3 movies, I think is a great storyline. Great storyline. But so we got those in 3 anime films. We got into time too, because Toho couldn't, even though they did Shin Godzilla, weren't technically supposed to, they couldn't release a live action film. So this gave them an opportunity to team up with Polygon Pictures and make an anime series of films, because nothing's ever been done anime for Godzilla, really. I mean, we had the Hanna-Barbera, nothing Japanese wise.
Yeah,
it was all
Hanna-Barbera.
Nothing that would be considered anime. Yeah.
I mean, the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, the 98 Godzilla series, animated series, and that's it. So this was the first time we had gotten
the 98 one
anime series or the cartoon series.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is superior to the movie. I'll fully back and support the 98 cartoon, by the way.
You will?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because that was Godzilla.
Okay.
It didn't take 5 missiles to beat him. He blew radioactive breath.
How'd he look?
He looked just like the movie.
Yeah. I thought he did. Yeah. Oh, don't you still have a figure up there, don't you?
Those are from the animated series. That's what it is. Yeah. So those aren't from the movie. Those figures are from the animated series.
Oh.
Yes.
One and the same, right?
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
definitely not the same.
Yeah, sure did.
So anyway, so this was the first time that the first
Justin's
outing
on the couch clapping right now, by the way,
for the anime series, and it was a mixed bag, big time. Each film individually was a mixed bag. Of the first 2 films, the biggest part of the praise was Godzilla himself, and the animation style was just gorgeous. The third film, as far as reviews, was definitely much better than the first 2. Got much better reception. I mean, IGN praised it, saying, the first 2 were kind of a chore to get through, but the payoff in the third one was well worth the work.
It was almost kind of a build up to the third movie.
It really was.
Yeah.
Really was. But this is a movie it's torn between the fans. And I would say, honestly, this is probably a series of films that has, at least for the Western fan base, is more negative than positive for most people that I know of. I mean, Ruben, would you say the same thing?
Yeah. I would be one that was on the negative. Now I'm, I'll talk about it in a little bit. My mind was changed a little bit, just a bit, not a lot.
Just a little bit after the second viewing. So let's jump into it, man. I mean, it's the 3 films. Let's kind of hammer them all. I know there was a little bit longer of a synopsis, but we got give me a break, people. I had 3 movies to go through.
Yeah,
there.
3 movies.
You did good, man.
At an hour and a half a piece. You just did.
Yeah, you did.
You did
good.
4 and a half hours. 4.5 hours of maybe a little bit more, maybe almost 5. in a few minutes. So you did all right. Yeah, you need to take a drink of that caffeine.
I need
and,
to.
and the thing about it is he did it all straight out of his head. I mean, he didn't have no notes down here or nothing. Did a good job.
You know,
did a
I
real
try
good
my
job.
best not to
I think it had something to do with that '98 series. That he
No,
got him
definitely.
going.
That was not it. So,
Got him going.
well, let's jump into it, Ruben, man. You know, we gave you a hard time about this one, you know, because I know that you wasn't a big fan of these. Let's start with you first. What's your second viewing take of this trilogy?
My second viewing take actually helped because it upped my stomp rating. Going into this, I was going to give it something close to the Geno. That's how bad. That's how much I did not enjoy this the first time. Yeah, real low. And then after watching it, I discovered that maybe you know, like I said, it's what I say, 5 hours. It's 5 hours. I think they could have told a story in 3. And so I really do. I really think it was kind of elongated. There was a lot of unnecessary scenes in there. I think they could have came out. But this time I was pretty wide awake for all 3 of them. And the story is great. I'll give you that. The story's great. Godzilla's design is great too. The anime style, I think you alluded to earlier, it's good. I just, you know, and what I found, what gave me the up score on this one is the story. The story was much better than I remembered. To compare my first viewing, I just hated Haru. I'm like, this guy is just whining about Godzilla the whole freaking time. You know, he's whine, Godzilla. I mean, you know, dude, do something about it or shut up. One of the two. All right. And he did do something about it. You know, but then watching it again, I said, okay, I kind of understand. I still don't understand. I mean, I understand why he hated Godzilla because he wants planet Earth back and this and that and the other. And, you know, Godzilla took everything from him. But at the same time, you know, he seems to be adjusted quite well. And I'm like, and now he's, you know, he's a captain and you know, and all this other good stuff. So, but watching his story and putting his trust in Memphis and all that, I'm like, man, you know, this is great. So going through the story, I was like, man, the story's great. What I didn't like is I didn't like the idea of Mechagodzilla as a city. I thought that was ridiculous. I didn't like it. I didn't think it was a very good concept. I wanted to see Mechagodzilla. So first viewing, I was so disappointed that I think I did like Haru. I just complained, oh, this anime is just terrible, you know, because I wanted to see Mechagodzilla. You know, because just imagine a nanometal Mechagodzilla in Mechagodzilla form going up against this Godzilla. Oh, just awesome. Imagine that battle.
They even had, I mean, you can buy a figure of the actual Mechagodzilla because they had a full design for him.
Yeah, they did. Because in the first one, they show him. They show, like, we can't get him to work. You know, the first of the 3 trilogy, Mechagodzilla is built. They just can't get him to work for some reason. They just couldn't get him to operate, you know? So that's when they had to evacuate the planet, go onto that space station and try to find somewhere else to live. So I was disappointed because I wanted to see a battle between Mechagodzilla and Godzilla. A nanometal Mechagodzilla versus Godzilla would have been the most ultimate of battles. Just imagine that.
Oh, it would have looked amazing, especially with this
it would have looked
style.
Amazing. Yeah, with the art style. So in the first viewing, that really disappointed me. But then watching it a second time, I'm like, well, you know, this story is good enough that it took some of that sting away from me. And then in the third one, I was disappointed. I like Ghidorah's head style, but I didn't like that he was from another dimension and untouchable and basically was just a big old Manda. A Manda with a Ghidorah head. I didn't like that. I wanted to see King Ghidorah. Once again, the anime disappointed me. And I'm like, man, I wanted to see imagine that King Ghidorah full form fighting against Godzilla. You know, that would have been just the awesomest battle too. I'm like, man, there's 2 opportunities the anime missed that I think would have made this, you know, as far as stomp ratings, it would have been in the upper half instead of the lower half or the middle. Okay. So, but the story's so great because to me, you mentioned it was, you know, it got very religious, but to me it was, you had one race that was all about technology and all about science. and they didn't care about religion. Then you had another alien race that was all about religion and didn't care about science.
Yeah.
And neither one wanted to meet in the middle. You know, so to me, it was the moral of the story is like if you just care about science and forget about religion or forget about a god or a deity, you're no better off than the religious people that just discard science altogether. You know, to me, I saw that and I really liked that part of it. I really thought, you know, that's pretty cool because it's telling you don't take a stand on one side or the other. The two could coexist, but you have to be willing to work at it. And neither one of those, and all they did was put the human race right in the middle of the thing because, you know, of course they made him a cat, you know, the alien race. Oh, I forget the Belasudo
Bella Bay
made him. Yeah. You know, they were the religious cult. Yeah. They were the religious people. They wanted him because they wanted to bring back their god. The Exifs wanted him because he was going to be able to kill Godzilla. You know, they thought that would, you know, so they both wanted him for their own purpose, and they both used him for their own purpose, and they both ended up failing at the end, you know, because finally we find out that humanity is really the best of both worlds, and you don't have to pick sides. At least that's the way I looked at it.
Or can be.
Yeah. He picked humanity. I mean, when he goes to that battle, when he fights over. To me, I don't know if you saw this. To me, it was Haru that was controlling King Ghidorah, not Mesfi. I mean, he wanted that hate. He had that hate for Godzilla, and they were using that, a la Revenge of the Sith. They used the hate. They used Haru's hate. They used Haru's hate to fight Godzilla and to basically bring King Ghidorah in.
Well, yeah, and Mephies even talks about in order to the last thing needed to bring Ghidorah fully into the world is Haruo's sacrifice. He needs to be the final sacrifice.
He makes it. He was going to be the final sacrifice, and he was telling him. And I found that so funny because in the second movie, Haru again needed to sacrifice himself and give himself to the nanometal,
right,
to defeat Godzilla. So I said, so you have this poor kid who is used by one group because they wanted to kill Godzilla, but then this other group wants to use them to bring King Ghidorah into the world, and all because of one, of course, because of his hate for Godzilla, and he was an intelligent guy. He, you know, his military strategy was perfect for Godzilla to fight Godzilla. Matter of fact, it worked.
Yep,
it worked both times. Technically, it worked both times. They just didn't know Godzilla had one last defense, but technically Godzilla Godzilla was dormant after that second battle. Yeah. So technically he won both battles. So what won me over and actually bumped up my score a little bit was the storyline, because it was really deep and intricate, and there was betrayal. Haru loses what I assume is they're not really boyfriend and girlfriend, but they care for each other. You know, and he loses her. You know, she's one of the pilots of one of the vultures that the nanometal actually takes over.
Yeah, Yuko.
And Eiko. Yeah. And what happens is, you know, the nanometal takes her over. It doesn't take him over because, of course, the race that's on Earth, when he was injured in the first movie, they worked on him, and whatever they used on him, the nanometal did not like, so it wouldn't stick to him. You know, so I thought that was cool. I like that race of humans that were on, because you're right. It's like I always assumed it was Mothra. Did they ever say? I'm not.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, because you even see.
Yeah.
Well, they don't actually name Mothra in the movie, but
they don't, right?
No, but you know.
But the assumption is there. Like
yeah.
I watched the whole movie and I'm like, well, I'm assuming it's Mothra.
Well, then you even see Mothra in the shadowed out full form, because he even says that's a moth. You know, while he's in the vision deal battling Haruo or battling Mephies. You know, Mayana shows up there, and she shows up by Mothra showing up there, you know, flying through at that one point.
So you know, so I'm like, I assume that's Mothra, and yet that's another race with another different god. And Mephies tries to get into their, I guess what they're called, their room of worship, and she stops him, says, "Hey, you know," and he goes, "Oh, okay, I'll leave." but he uses them too. I mean, he actually, captures one of them and uses. I'm assuming he captured her to lure Haru up there for the battle. For the final battle for them to take. That's another assumption I'm making. I'm like, what does he care about her? But he has her tied up, up there, and I'm assuming it's bait. So, although I still don't think. I think they could have done a lot better. They left a lot on the table, and I think that's why, in my first viewing, I didn't care for it because there was more disappointment in that first viewing than there was excitement. Because I was hyped up for that first one. I'm like, man, this is going to be cool. Because I'm a big anime fan. I watch a lot of animes, and I thought, man, this is going to be cool. And I was let down on that first viewing. But on the second viewing, after going through it and actually maybe paying a little bit better attention this time, I noticed, hey, man, this storyline is great. And I'm not sure about the music, but it sure does. The music sounded very Godzilla 2000. I don't know who did the music on that one. I didn't look that up.
Takayuki Hattori did the music for the entire trilogy.
Okay, all right.
And the score is great, I think. Yeah,
the score is great. I like this. I really like the score. It was good. It was epic. And I don't know how you feel about. I felt Godzilla was just a little bit too slow compared to other, other incarnations of Godzilla.
Yeah, I think a lot of his moves, it seemed like he was moving in slow motion. Noticed that
it sure does.
That he did.
And I don't know if that was for effect or if he was really moving that slow, because you still got that sense of dread when he was heading your way. Of course, he's a massive 300-meter beast. So.
Yeah, well, I think that's when they were working on it too. I mean, because because they were trying to put some legit science in the movie itself. When you have a creature that size, that's how he would move because of the mass. He would be moving slower than a Godzilla that's 100 meters. Just because, I mean, there's so much more mass.
Yeah, because of the size. So, and that's what I'm saying. Well, they might be doing it to effect or to bring it, like you said, be more, I guess, correct, anatomically correct, I guess would be the term used for that. Like, how would a beast that size move?
Yeah.
Type of thing. And I
really?
found that strange also. Yeah. I also found it strange that they didn't think, well, Godzilla's on this side of the planet. Why don't we just go to the other side?
Right.
We have a rotating space station in orbit. Why don't we keep it in orbit and let them keep an eye on Godzilla? Rotate a crew up there and live on. And if you need to move, well, then you move. You make different colonies and problem solved. You live with Godzilla. Though the tribe that was down there lived, amongst Godzilla for 20,000 years or whatever amount it took them to I'm missing the word, to evolve into whatever they were, but they survived somehow with Godzilla on planet with all those creatures. Because if I remember correctly, they even theorized that everything on Earth evolved from Godzilla's DNA.
Yeah,
it's left on
Earth. That was
right?
one of the theories,
the plants, the animals, everything. It's got Godzilla's DNA in it. In other words, Mother Nature, I think they even use this term, Mother Nature chose Godzilla as the dominant species on Earth. Mother Nature did that. Earth did that. So that's what saved it, is the story. I think the story is pretty darn good. I think they could have told it in 3.5 hours rather than the 5. So that's really all I got. I think I got more praise on it than I thought I was going to after I saw this 3 times. Now, I liked the first one more than I did the third one. The third one was great. The second one I did not like, but I was fine with the first one because it laid down everything, and you got to see Godzilla. You got to see them fight Godzilla.
Yeah.
So I think if I had to rate all 3, I would rate the first one at number 1. Then the third one is the second best, and then of course, the living city, which I did not care for at all. I just did not like that concept. So that's it, man. Those are all my pros and cons of this movie. I think I've got a little bit more respect. I know I have a little bit more respect for this movie than I did when I watched it the first time. But I will admit that first time I fell asleep and I had to I woke up and then I have to rewind it and watch it over again. That first viewing, I'm telling you. And so this time I said, I made sure I had a drink. I made sure I was, it was early instead of late. And, although I this last one I watched Saturday night, I think. What was it? It was pretty late. Sunday night. It was Sunday night. And I was sitting there watching a football game and I said, and I watched Walking Dead. I'm like, man, I got to watch that third Godzilla.
I gotta get this one done.
I got to get this done before tomorrow. So it was yesterday evening that I finally saw it. I saw Walking Dead. I forgot what else I ended up watching. And man, I don't know what I watched because I know I ended up watching Walking Dead from a recording. But the bottom line is that I saw that one, and even that one, I stayed awake. So, like, the third one gained a little bit more respect because I actually didn't get sleepy at all for it. So, that's it, man. That's all I got.
Mark,
what you guys got.
Well, I'm pretty close to what he's saying and what he's talked about there. The first movie I think I did like better than the second, and then the third movie was fantastic. My first time watching it, first time around, it was hard to get into. I wasn't bought on that 20,000 year leap that they went through and the different changes, the earth goes through and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it was rough for me first time around. Watching it again, like Ruben, I really liked the first one. Just seeing Godzilla, and it wasn't, the storyline didn't seem as drawn out to me as what it did the first time around. First time around, I was just like, give me some toothpicks, pry my eyelids open because I'm dying here bad. But the animation in it to me is just phenomenal. It's just fantastic. It's one of the better Japanese animes that I've seen for what it is, and I think overall of the three movies, it ties it in really, really good. And it could have been condensed down because it's one of those things that, okay, yeah, I'm going to go back and watch this again. But I want the whole story. Do I have 5 hours today?
Yeah, exactly.
To get that feel good. I've just watched a great Godzilla movie. So, I mean, music wise, I think everything was great. The soundtrack on it is just fantastic. Now, Mecha Godzilla City, I was okay with that. And I was looking, I was looking on my phone here, and I think he was asking about it, if that was Matra, that they're fallen deity, and you just poke on the phone and automatically just goes straight. That's the reference they were making to, in which. And when you see the twin girls, you automatically know. Then there's an egg.
Yeah, you see, it was a bunch of assumptions for me.
Yeah,
I'm like, did they actually say anything
now,
about them?
But
I sure made a lot of assumptions.
If you're not a Godzilla fan, and you're watching this first time through, they have to be kind of lost in that area.
Yeah, because there's a lot of mythos there.
That you're supposed to assume that what's going on, and so maybe it was this was made just for Godzilla fans and other people that are non-Godzilla. I don't know how you could be not know about Godzilla,
you have to.
To know.
It'd be hard to say. I watched this movie, and this is the first Godzilla movie I ever watched.
Yeah.
I think most people knew, and that's why I said, man, I made an assumption, and I really don't know if they said the name. That's how much I just saw that. I'm like, oh, Matra. And that was the end of that. I didn't pay attention.
Yeah, you just, as soon as you see the twins standing up there.
Oh yeah,
that's the very first thing you think of. That's, to me, it would be, or is what it was. So I think overall, I'm in the middle of the road. I wasn't disappointed, but I wasn't excited. I wasn't, when I finished with this, when I got done with this, I was like, okay, it was good. It was decent. I liked it, just long and drawn out. And so,
there you go.
That's probably my only negative is it's so long. Otherwise, I think the graphics, everything about it is fantastic. The characters I like for the most part. And I think, yeah, I'm pretty good on that. That's pretty much where I said on it.
I'm a fan of the movies. You know, what I mean, again, kind of like Mark, I wasn't opposed to the Mechagodzilla City. I was, is it the best thing ever? No. It would have been awesome to see Mechagodzilla in full battle, but
well, you kind of get hyped up at first when they first start talking about it. It's like, oh yeah, here we go. It's going to happen. Yeah.
But I feel like I was not let down because one, it was something fresh. You know what I mean? Like something a little bit different from Mechagodzilla because we've had him the same way over and over again. But so it was definitely a very different take. But if it wasn't for the massive onslaught that Godzilla received from the city, I would have been severely disappointed. Like that onslaught was a Mechagodzilla onslaught. You know what I mean? If they didn't have that equivalency there, then I would have been extremely disappointed in the Mechagodzilla City deal. But the payoff of that attack was pretty freaking sweet. And the vultures.
I don't see that attack as being from Mechagodzilla. I see it as being from
what they created
from. Well, they created all that.
When you look at the city, I mean, it's all nanotechnology together. You know what I mean? So it was all just because they talked about like, okay, we're going to move this much of our resources of the nanotechnology to here, then this much to here. So they were just reapportioning it as you see the buildings being built, or the things being added on. They were just restructuring Mechagodzilla to other parts of this massive city of what it is. I mean, that's how I'd seen and understood it. And then same thing with the vultures. And the vultures were really freaking cool. Like
that was I forgot to mention that. Yeah, the vultures.
Those
were the coolest part of the second movie.
That was the
very Gundam like.
Yeah, that's literally what I was about to say. That is the closest we'd ever get to seeing a Gundam fighting a Godzilla. Yeah. Like they were super cool. But I mean, it's still disappointing not to see a full-on Mechagodzilla, but it gave me enough to not be fully disappointed in it. I still would have been much happier, like Ruben said, with Mechagodzilla himself. Like a nano Mechagodzilla would have been freaking sweet. But they kept me entertained through it. The movies could have been, other than the third one, I do think the first two could have been shortened on the time. The second one especially, I felt was a little too drawn out. I think it's like an hour and 50-minute runtime almost. That definitely could have been like an hour and 20. I mean, you could really shave 20-30 minutes off of that film and streamline the story a little bit, and I think it would have ran better. The first one, I mean, I love that. I thought it was great. I love the fresh take. Coming back 20,000 years later, Godzilla's. Of course, the design's different. The way he's made's different. But it wasn't spectacular to me. Like I was like, oh, this is cool. Another reboot of Godzilla and take, and I like the characters. I did think in the first one mainly, not so much the second and third one, but I'm with Ruben. Haruo was freaking whiny as all get out. Yeah. So at first I wasn't a big fan of him. I was like, but as you continue to grow through the movies, I grew to really like that character, especially the third one. Yeah. Like the third one to me culminated was the epitome of this trilogy. But each one has a payoff, I felt like. So the first one was good, enjoyable. Again, like we've said, the animation style is great. The designs are great. The soundtrack I think is super great. I love the Servum. Like the Servum, I thought were super cool. It keeps driving me nuts because I want to order one of the Servum figures Bandai did, but anytime I find it, it's like $30. But you used to be able to get it for like 18. It's driving me crazy. So I thought they were really cool. Even the worm versions of them, that you see were super cool. So I liked that concept of everything, but to me, it wasn't anything spectacular until the end of the first one. When they blow up Godzilla, I'm like, son of a gun, they did it. How are we going to continue on with this trilogy now? And then the real Godzilla showed up. That was like a jaw drop moment for me. I was like, oh, okay. That made up for the whole hour and 20, 30 minutes I just watched. This was freaking epic. So I love that with the first one. Second one, when we talk about Mechagodzilla City, it was the low ball point of the trilogy. But for me, the third film was it, man. Like, was worth the build up to get to it. Again, I wish the first two were a little shorter time wise to get there quicker. But the betrayal from Metphis, because Metphis is pretty much Haruo's dad. Because his parents were killed and he's taking care of. You see the flashback scene of Haruo as a kid in line. And they're handing out trays of just water, and the Memphis pulls out of his pocket a little thing of meat for him. You know what I mean? Like, and you see him, Memphis always there the whole time. And so when he finds out that the whole reason the ship that his grandfather was on was blown up was because of Mephis, that was the ultimate betrayal right there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And Mephis is really just kind of groomed Haruro to be the ultimate sacrifice for Ghidorah. Like that might be the best, in my opinion, I'm going to say this boldly, the best human drama part of any Godzilla film I've ever seen. Like that is
I agree.
So
that's
deep.
what sold me.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
deep
sold
and
me.
awesome.
It was very Emperor Palpatine.
Yes, but yes, it's definitely very.
He
Palpatine.
groomed Anakin.
he did. The lack of Godzilla in the third film didn't even bother me because of how good the human drama was with what was going on. But then the moment, like for me, like that's the first sacrifice scene where Mephis is talking, having everybody repeat after him, you know, the surviving humans from Earth, and they take the drink, and then just the atmosphere just became horrific, and you see the shadow.
The sound effects. The sound effects alone were horrific, man. You heard the crunch and the. It was.
Yeah, I mean, like Ghidorah's eating these people, not like you see half a head gone, head hits the floor, leg gone. I mean, he's just killing these people, but you don't see him, but you see his shadow as he's doing it. That was just creepy, man. Like that was just like, dude, I like where this is going. And then when Ghidorah finally showed up, Ruben, I'm with you 100%. So for those who haven't seen this trilogy yet, when Ghidorah shows up, there's 3 portals from that bring him from his dimension to ours. And so it's just pretty much like one elongated, like super long version of each head, one for each portal. So you don't really see the wings, you don't see the body. You do briefly in like the spiritual scenes with Haruo.
There you go.
You know, you see the silhouette of the full body, which would have been epic to see on Earth, but you don't actually. That doesn't actually is when it happens because of the way things pan out. So the design, I'm with Ruben 100%. The head looks cool. I love the multiple eyes, almost like an insect. I did not like the design ultimately. As a whole, was my least favorite design for Ghidorah ever. But the character itself and the concept and the power of Ghidorah is probably my favorite. Because, he's always been Godzilla's arch nemesis. And Godzilla's always had to have someone's help. But Godzilla's always still been able to kind of go toe-to-toe with him. You know what I mean? Ever since 64, he's been able to rumble and throw down. When Ghidorah shows up in this one, he is absolutely helpless. Nothing works.
Defeated.
Yeah.
He's defeated.
Ghidorah is killing him. He can't hit him because his punches are going through because it's almost like it's almost like he's a hologram because he's in our dimension, but he's not fully in our dimension because, again, they need the sacrifice of Haruo to bring him in fully. But he's able to attack Godzilla and start eating at his life force. Godzilla's atomic ray doesn't work. The heat blast doesn't work. Nothing works. I mean, and he's just in that moment where he lifts Godzilla off the ground, it's like, but every bit of it. I mean, the moment he showed up on the ship, we see him in the portal in space when he starts to come through that rift.
Yeah.
And the space station, they literally at one point it's like they see their death happening on all the monitors, but it hasn't happened yet. They're like, what's going on? Like, there's no one alive, but they're still standing there. How is this possible? Yeah. Because he's just this deity, just this destroyer that he's killed them before they even realize it. To me, that set the tone for him at that point. It's like, oh my gosh. And then he comes down, dude, and Godzilla has no chance until Haruo is able to finally defeat Mephis, which severs that tie. And then Godzilla is finally able to take hold. And then the whole payoff at the end of during the battle with Mephis is like, there's always a Godzilla. Mankind, every species brings about their own destruction. That destruction is Godzilla. And for him to realize, I'm it. I can't let this happen. The only way I'm going to stop Godzilla is to stop this chain of hate, to stop this chain of what we are. And so for him to fly out Godzilla on that last one, and if you go back and watch it, it almost does, and I had to look at it a second time, and I still haven't decided myself or not, it almost looks like when he shoots him, he not only shoots him and kills Haruo, but it looks like Godzilla himself blows up. Like the cycle ends at that point. If you go back and watch, the explosion goes all the way back to Godzilla, and then the smoke and everything encompasses Godzilla as well, not just the vulture that Haruo's in.
Right.
So like to me, watching it, if that's what happened, Haruo and Yuki, of course, is in there with him because she's encased in the nanotechnology, and Godzilla all explode there at the end. Wow. You know what I mean? Like,
and that ends the circle.
Yeah, that
ends the whole thing.
Yeah, for them, So to me, that third film, dude, is, if we rated these individually, that third film would be very high for me. Second one, very, very low. The first one in the middle. But I think as a whole, man, I mean, I loved it the first time around. Second time around, I loved the third film even more. To me, that third film was just.
I'd like to see the end of that again.
Go back and watch, because I had to go back and watch it and kind of play it in slow mo to see, because it happens really quick. But it looks like once he blows up the vulture, that whole explosion just goes right back to him, and they're all gone. And so to me, the storyline, dude. I mean, Ruben said it, man. This storyline is phenomenal in these movies, especially as one congruent story. They could have definitely shortened it. I think especially the first two films, streamlined a little bit better to get to the third act. And I think that would have been a much better.
But I think I agree with you. The third act, I don't think there was any dead time in it.
No,
the third movie.
It's pretty go.
As you're talking, I was like, man, let me try to. No, that third movie does not have anything that I would consider cutting if I was to edit it. I'm like, I don't think there's anything in that third one that is that should end up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, just everything was made sense in that third film. So
because it's just epic. It
is, man.
It's epic.
Even though Ghidorah is probably for most people the least liked design for him, it's still such a good storyline in that. Even Ghidorah is such a powerful character that you can really overlook the design of Ghidorah.
Yeah.
And that says a lot, because I mean Ghidorah is that's Godzilla's Joker. I mean, like so that I think that's pretty good for it. So all right.
Yeah. I agree.
I think it's time, man. It's Stompdown rating time. All right, so we kind of were all pretty much in agreement in this one. We gave this one overall, all three of us together gave this a 3 for the whole trilogy. We didn't want to rate them individually. We want to rate them as a whole, and we gave this a solid 3 from start to finish because of, well, as you've heard us explain. So I did give it a little bit higher. I gave it a 3.5 for it, but.
Well, technically you did, but on paper you did.
And I went up a little bit high. I mean, going into this movie, I think I said this before the show began. This was going to get a Geno rating from the first. If I would have just gone by the first viewing, and then after watching it, it went up to a 3, and it was going to be a 2 at least. Let's just put it this way: when I sat down, I had already made up my mind it was going to get a 2 in my mind. The story was so good that it went up a whole stomp. That's how good the story is for this. So.
Yeah, I think it's
changed
worth
my mind.
checking it out. Yeah. So I mean, if you guys haven't seen it,
it's definitely a must watch.
Yeah, even if you've seen it before, like Ruben said, a lot through this is the second viewing really changes a lot. After that first initial, because I mean, especially the Mechagodzilla one. I mean, that's an initial shock. A lot of us were pretty mad that there was no Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
I mean, so getting past that initial shock. I mean, especially if you compare it to, I mean, we've now gotten the second Godzilla anime with the series Singular Point. I mean, to me, there's aspects of this movie trilogy that I think is superior to the Singular Point series.
I agree.
They're completely different. I mean, totally different, not in the same universe type deal. But I mean, of course, now there's plenty of things about Singular Point that are better than the trilogy of films. But if you go back and give it another viewing, man, I think you would be surprised. Hint, hint, talking to Justin McLean specifically here. Go back and give it another watch. Give it a shot. You might see you might change a little bit.
It changed my mind, Justin. It changed my. I mean, I had it real low.
Yeah, it's possible. Now, there's no amount of viewings of the '98 film that would change my mind, but
Well, no. Just to put it to before I saw it, okay. I'm like, man, I was dreading it, and Sludge knew it. I mean, I was like, I called him. I said, "Hey, when are we doing this?" He said Monday. I said, "Well, I guess I got to start watching."
Yeah.
tonight,
I guess I better start these movies.
And I said, "Man, I think I'd rather watch 98 than this one."
He did. That's exactly. Yeah, he did say that.
And then I sat and watched it. I said, "You know what? No, I'd rather watch this one than 98 as far as Godzilla, because but
that's awesome.
But not by much, but still, because it's just." Mark alluded to it. You have to invest the time for it, and I think if you do, you won't be disappointed if you invest the time in it.
Yeah, I mean, come on, if you can give up to almost 12 hours of watching nothing but walking to the point that even trees walk in the Lord of the Rings movies, you can invest 4.5 hours.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
you can invest 4.5 hours in Godzilla and be.
I mean, I watched Godzilla. I see Saturday. I watched one on was it Friday night that I texted you. I think it was Friday night and Saturday night and then Sunday. So each day I watched one, and and so I saw them close together for one thing. So that probably helped a little bit, instead of seeing them separated out like I did the first time around. And after seeing them, and like I said, Sunday, I was, wrapped up in a whole bunch of other stuff, and then I said, "Oh man, I got to watch this because there's no way I'm watching it before the show." On Monday, and I knew the storm was out there in the Gulf, and we were going to be busy. So I said, I got to sit down and watch it. But watching them, if you do what I did, watch, kind of close together instead of, one every Saturday or something, I think the payoff would be way better.
Yeah, that's what
I enjoyed that third one a lot better than I did the first time after watching all three.
Yeah, because I watched the first one, and then the next day I went back and watched actually the second and third one back to back. Is what I ended up doing.
That's how I did. Watch second and third one today.
Oh, back to back on those. Yeah.
So
good movies, man. Like I mean, it's changed Ruben's mind. A whole Stomp rating.
Yeah.
To me, I enjoyed it more the second time around. Mark seems to enjoy it the second time around a little better. So we recommend it, man. It's worth taking the time to go watch this, especially for a completely different spin on Godzilla that I don't think we would have ever gotten in a live action series.
No. And there would be no city of Mechagodzilla.
No, not at all.
No way. And I guess that initial shock of, okay, I know there's going to be the city. Mechagodzilla is going to be a city. So that disappointment wasn't there because I was already disappointed the first viewing. And it was great. I mean, even in that second movie, that entrapment, all that military, strategy and all that to get him to get Godzilla to go where they wanted him to go, and that was great. So, I even the second one will pass muster, if you ask me. It's the weakest for me, but it's still.
Agreed. Weakest of the trilogy, but definitely worth watching. So, all right, well, there you go, guys. 3 solid stomps worth checking out for that one. And, man, stay tuned. Next week, we have got the special team-up episode with Charlie and Dan from Giving Back My Action Movies for an awesome movie that's right in the wheelhouse for both of us. Pretty stoked about it. We cannot wait for you guys to listen to it. We've already recorded. You might even hear me and Charlie kind of go toe to toe. We got a little feisty with each other on this movie.
I only ducked 3 times.
only. So, check it out. Then of course next month we'll be back with the next part of the Legendary series with Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then for Halloween we're gonna hit you guys up with a great monster movie classic, in my opinion, Stan Winston's Pumpkinhead.
Oh yeah, Pumpkinhead.
All right, this is Sludge
and Mark,
and you got Ruben in Texas.
Y'all have a good night.
Come on, you want to live forever?
No.